Hi everybody, I'm Peter.
And I'm Chris.
And we're with the Neighbor to Neighbor team.
Thanks for all that you do.
And now to our president and CEO, Mark Bergel.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bergel, and I'm the founder, president, and CEO here at A Wider Circle. I have not slept in a bed since 2008. And I made that choice because I wanted to connect more to the discomfort that comes with not having what most of us consider essential items, what most of us take for granted. And I recognized that it was just one of the many challenges that comes with living in poverty, and that it is much different to choose to do it than to have it thrust upon you from birth, which is what most people in poverty experience. Now, not everyone in poverty has no beds, but many do. In fact, I've been in hundreds and hundreds of homes where there are no beds, where in fact there are maybe two pieces of furniture, a chair and a television, for example. And people don't have a table and chairs at which to eat a family meal. And there's no couch to sit on at the end of the night. And there's no coffee table on which to put your feet, and no end table on which to put a lamp, and probably no lamp. That's what comes with living in poverty, just scarcity. Albert Schweitzer's quote comes to mind. Think occasionally of the suffering of which you spare yourselves the sight. Think occasionally of the suffering of which you spare yourselves the sight. The suffering we're talking about tonight, the suffering that comes with poverty, is needless. We have the resources, the stuff, the creativity. The real answers, however, probably lie with each of us, right? They're found at that deep level, in our thoughts and our actions. Because no matter what else is happening around us, and there's a lot happening around us these days, but it's how we treat the most vulnerable in our midst that is the reflection we see in the mirror. People whose neighborhoods are not safe, where shootings are commonplace, that's the definition of human vulnerability. What do we do about that? Where there's a lack of income, no money, a defining element of poverty, that's even more commonplace than the danger of which I just spoke. Words such as food deserts, service deserts, under-resourced, those are terms that have defined communities for decades. When do we stop that? When do we make those terms a thing of the past? A Wider Circle is on the ground every day, 7 days a week in response to this. And tonight, we all have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to do something about it. Tonight, through your support, we can make sure that those communities can be defined by words such as thriving, resourced, opportunity. So I ask you tonight to think about living through this pandemic, being homebound morning, noon, and night, with no furniture. On what do you sit, right? Like we said, on what do you sleep if you don't have a bed? What do you do? It's already deleterious to your health. How would you have responded to living in such scarcity during this pandemic? And that's why the theme of tonight is a recovery for all, because there will be a recovery. We will recover from what we're experiencing today and this season and the past 6 months as a society. And however much forward we still have to live with this physical distancing. There will be a recovery when businesses open up. And it's our responsibility, each of us, to ensure that this recovery is a recovery for all. We know this is a time for change, right? We see it. There's a bright light being shined on what needs to change. Yet those in poverty are continually marginalized, neglected, and even exploited. Shared prosperity, or even a shared experience of having enough to get by, has not been something we've experienced in this country. And this is our chance to make that possible. And that's why I will transition in 2021 to a more national focus, right? We will share more on this spinoff in the coming season. I'll become the executive chair of the board of A Wider Circle while I create an institute to focus on national change, on structural change and systemic changes that are needed to make sure everybody has the opportunity to live well. And the national plan about which we have been talking, that national plan will be the first focus of this institute. In fact, come on with me to my office and we'll take a closer look at this national plan. So this national plan, which will be the first initiative of our national work, is focused on a few things. First, on educating people on really what's happening and how is it that we measure and count incorrectly the number of people who live in need in this country. And then where do they live? And finally, the focus of this plan is action. And so the action guide will tell you how you can really engage, whether as an individual or with your business, your faith community, civic association, as you'll see, it's very exciting and just loaded with ways that you can make a difference, a real difference in ending poverty. So first thing is we need to make sure that we understand how many people live in need of assistance, and the federal poverty line does not really do that. It's been inadequate since it was created, and what a wider circle is doing is using 50% of median income to say, you know what, that's a better measure of who lives in need of assistance. That's tried and true, it's used around the world, and so that is what we are using for our income standard. And let me show you these income standards. They're locally based, which is also different. The federal poverty line is national in scope, which is insane because the cost of living is so different depending on where you live. So we shouldn't measure poverty the same in every location. So if we were to choose where I'm sitting now, which is Maryland, and we were to choose Montgomery County, then what you would see is what are the income standards in this county. That's the blue line. But if we go to the bottom of this table, we can see what the federal poverty guidelines are in the United States. And what you see is that a family of 4 is only considered in poverty if their annual income is less than $26,200, which again is kind of insane. And it's condescending and insulting of what it really takes to get by. So if you are making $28,000 as a family of 4, you're not considered in poverty. And what's dangerous about that is many benefits are hooked either to the poverty line or to a multiplier of it. For example, food benefits, SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. You get that up to 130% of the poverty line. So if you're in a family of 4 in Montgomery County and you make $36,000, you do not get SNAP anymore. And by the way, using our income standards, you can see that $36,000 is not even halfway to having enough money to get by without assistance, if you look at this line. And we've done every county, not only in the state of Maryland, but in the entire nation. Before I show you the map, I'll show you that not only do we show the standards, but you can see how many people live below these income standards, how many people are truly living in need of assistance. And what I can tell you right now is that number goes from about 38 million that we currently consider to be the number in poverty to about 76 million. That is just a metaphor for the way we've undercounted and underperformed in addressing the needs of those in poverty. And so here you can see that in the state of Maryland, there's about 6 million people. And we right now say about 527,000 live in poverty, or 9%. What we will tell you is that there are really about 1.34 million people in the state of Maryland, or 23%, who live in need of assistance. And in Montgomery County, where you would be told that only 76,000 live in poverty, we would tell you that 222,000 live in need of assistance. So like I said, we do that everywhere in the country, and here's a map to show you just how that lays out in a heat map format. So you can zoom in on this, or you could type into it and just say, show me Washington, D.C., or as you see, we'll zoom into it. And as we zoom into it, you can see that in Southeast and Northeast D.C., there are far greater concentrations of people living in poverty than in Northwest D.C. And in Baltimore, you can see that in Southeast and Southwest Baltimore, the needs are far greater than they are in Northeast Baltimore. And all of that allows you to know how you can target your assistance more effectively, go where the needs are greatest. Now, as I said, the action guide is the real key to this plan. So let's take a quick look at that. Here you can see that the heading says choose how you want to help, and you can select the identity that you want to engage as. In other words, do you want to engage as a business? Do you run a business? Do you work for a company and you want to know what your company can do? Then you just select business, and then what area of poverty do you want to help with? Let's say you want to help with childcare. You click childcare and boom, 4 great suggestions for how you can help end poverty come to the screen. And let's just say that your business wants to focus on transportation instead. Choose transportation, and now you get 5 ways that you can help reduce or remove the hindrance that transportation plays in the overall movement of people trying to get out of poverty. And let's just say that you're not working for a business and you want to just know what you and your family can do. Then you select individual and family, and there's 5 things that you can do to help end poverty. And if you choose basic needs, well, heck, your family can do 5 other things. So in essence, you could say that my family and I, we're going to pick 1 thing a week to do to help end poverty, and this plan would give you 1 thing a week you could do. All right, there's a lot to do with this, and in the coming season, we are going to hopefully have a lot of you helping. And if indeed you want to help launch this plan, if you want to learn more or help us launch this, then just email me at mark, M-A-R-K, @awidercircle.org, and we'll put you to work. Okay, so we're back. Thanks for looking at that plan. We're very excited to launch it. It's really the next step in the growth of this movement to end poverty, a movement that's rooted for us in the daily work of a wider circle, in our experiences and our interactions with people who live day to day facing the challenges of poverty. And during this pandemic, when social isolation presents so many new challenges for us all, when there are dramatic changes to our social interactions, a wider circle has been serving hard. In fact, we have found a way to furnish 10 to 15 homes every single day. Every day during this pandemic, we are furnishing 10 homes, 12 homes, 14 homes, masks on, physical distancing, and yet committed to making sure that everyone in our midst has these basic need items. It is as wrong can be to allow families to live in such scarcity, to sit on crates, and to not have the means to just get what we consider essential, what we all take for granted. We have to make sure that everybody has that opportunity. Even with all of the stuff in our midst, we have yet to make sure that families can live comfortably and with stability. Because when you can live comfortably and with stability, you can think about what's next. And that's why at a wider circle, we focus so much on job training and workforce development, because that's what's next. Because it is true that nobody gets out of poverty without a job. And so every day now, we are being creative and innovative, using Zoom and being on the phone every day. In fact, we have classes going on right now, not this moment, but this past week and this coming week, where we will have people join via Zoom and take what we used to deliver through boot camps in person. We know that people whom we serve are ready to work. They have the skills and the talents to work, and we just have to make sure they have the opportunities to work. And that's what your support tonight can make possible. Your support through our workforce development programming allows us to not only help people build their resumes, but it allows us to make sure they have professional clothing, so critical in the job search and in having the clothes to just wear to work each day. We'll also make sure that they get job coaches, that network and that support that people need so much, that comes so naturally to others, does not come for folks in poverty. So we create those networks through job coaching. All of what's necessary to rise from poverty to financial independence is what you help make possible through our workforce development program. And our third program, Neighborhood Partnerships, is at a very exciting stage, for we are right now constructing a new 3,000 square foot center. It will be our first real headquarters in a low-income community. And we go to these communities when we're asked to go. And when we go to these communities, after being invited, we listen. We don't tell people what they need to do. We listen to what they need. And then we offer services that can support their rise out of poverty. So when we go into a community and we set up a center like this, it is a resident-led program. And that is critical for us. And it's a model that we hope can be replicated or exported. But first we need to get it right, and we need your help to do so. So that's what tonight's all about. It's helping to support that kind of programming. The work of a wider circle has never been more important. The team is strong, and the work is in such high demand. And I've seen a wider circle work for nearly 2 decades now. I know how talented this team is. I know how hard they're working. I know how much compassion they have. I've seen this up close for decades, but never have I seen it stronger than during this pandemic. Never have I seen the heroism of this team at such a level as I see today. Nothing is going to stop us from serving. Yes, as a management team, we made sure the staff was all safe in doing this work, but we couldn't keep them from doing this service. And tonight I'm asking you to support that, to support them, to support us every day so that we can make sure that more and more families can experience life with the stability and dignity that they deserve. If you are looking to create positive change, if you are looking to do something that will bring us together instead of divide us, then this is it. A wider circle is the place for change. It's the place where love and respect equals action and change. And you can make so much more possible. I invite you to do that, and I thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.